Welcome to the OK Not OK podcast. I am Dr. OK, and today I answer the OK question of the week, and we've still not gotten a single question from X, so SportsZu, you're up yet again. Doc, I think it's safe to say that we both do not like this transfer portal, but since we have to do it, what transfers would you like to see happen? Well, SportsZu, we don't agree on much, but I think we can safely say that we agree about this new transfer portal for WWE being a really bad idea. But, you know, what are you gonna do? I think WWE wants to get some new blood onto Netflix, so I think that's the whole purpose here. However, what we want to do is get some trades going throughout the entire year so that it just doesn't look like a basic move to get everyone to Netflix that they want to. So what we are going to do here is make some transfer portal trades today, and we are going to make them trades because there's not an NIL collective or anything here that you can just move people out of one school to another school to get them to your school for the most money possible. So yeah, we're gonna make these trades. I don't think there's anything in a WWE contract that lets you move between brands just because you say you want to. I think you need to be traded. So we're gonna do this with trades between all three brands because they did announce that the transfer portal would include NXT. So since everyone likes a good top 5 countdown, that's what we're going to do today. My top 5 picks for transfer portal trades. So in our number 5 spot, we'll just start with a basic Raw and SmackDown trade. And in the women's division, we will have Chelsea Green go to Raw and Zelina Vega head on over to SmackDown. And why would we make this trade? Well, these are two struggling wrestlers that might just need an injection of some new blood and to also get them away from their partners who are not helping them out at all. First for Zelina, she just lost in the Women's Intercontinental title tournament, so she now has nowhere to go right now, and the LWO's feud with American Made is not really getting her anywhere separately, so I think it's finally time to call it quits with the LWO and branch out on her own onto SmackDown, where she could compete for the women's US title. And with a 1-11 record on Monday Night Raw, it won't take much for her to have a better record on SmackDown. Now for Chelsea, yeah, she is still in the Women's United States title tournament in the semifinals, and I guess theoretically she could win 2 matches in 2 nights to become the inaugural champion. But that would require her first to beat Bayley, and we know that Bayley is far superior to Chelsea, so that's just never going to happen. But even if it somehow does happen, she's going to have to win a second match, and by winning 2 matches in 2 nights, that would be more one-on-one wins than she has for the entirety of 2024, so how likely is that to happen? She is just 1-6 right now, and just 3-10 in all singles matches. So, and we want to also note that having her bother Adam Pearce on Monday Night Raw is really a treat that we all just prefer. Now, when it comes to tag matches, she and Piper are just 2-5 in all tags this year, and they've only even had 1 match since Memorial Day. So they're not even really trying to do this thing, and of course Piper would also stand to benefit from losing Chelsea, as she is somehow 0-11 in all singles matches, with Chelsea pretty much trying to help her out in every single match. So maybe getting rid of Chelsea as a distraction will actually help her. So there's our first transfer portal trade. At number 4, we'll start with our first NXT Transfer Portal trades, and we will have Ethan Page go to SmackDown and Austin Theory will go to NXT. Well, for Theory, A-Town Down Under did win the tag team titles at WrestleMania, but it's pretty much been all downhill since then. They had 1 successful title defense on May 3rd, But since then, A-Town Down Under is 1-9 in all tag matches, and Theory himself is 0-2 in singles matches, which incredibly include a loss in a triple threat match in which both him and Waller lost to KO, so that was almost a handicap match. And this never-ending saga of an on-again, off-again relationship with Waller has gotten very old, very stale. We just need to get these guys apart at this time, because they've not even shown up on SmackDown for the last month, so hopefully they've gotten some good counseling. But I think it's just time to say that A-Town Down Under should be down under the ground. But with Theory still just 27 years old, he can certainly take some time to go back to NXT and prove that he's a winner to become the NXT champion, so it would be a great move for his career. Now for Ethan Page, it took him all of 4 matches in NXT to become the NXT champion, but admittedly he then lost it a short while later, losing it on the CW premiere of NXT to Trick Williams, and then just this past weekend he lost in the Iron Survivor Challenge, so he's not even the #1 contender anymore. That said, he's already proven the only thing he needed to prove in NXT already for his humongous ego to take, and that was to become the NXT champion. So at 35 years old, he doesn't need any more seasoning down in NXT, and he can go right to the main roster. At number 3 is my personal favorite because it is contingent on what happens in several matches that are coming up. First, the losers of the NXT Championship and the NXT Women's Championship on New Year's Evil are going to weirdly get promoted to Monday Night Raw, but the losers of the upcoming Intercontinental Championship and the loser in the finals of the Women's Intercontinental Title Tournament are getting shipped to NXT. So first, our current main roster stars, we have Braun Breaker and Ludwig Kaiser set to go one-on-one this upcoming Monday Night Raw for the IC title. And we know the Breaker's done everything you can imagine in NXT, so he certainly doesn't need to go back down, but that'll give him some even more incentive to go ahead and destroy Ludwig Kaiser. And Kaiser actually could stand to have some time apart from Gunther, so if he gets a shot to do whatever he wants in NXT, it might greatly help his career. Then on the women's side, well, there are just too many women still remaining in this tournament to really talk about it, as we only know right now that Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria are even making it to the semifinals. So yeah, just too many women to talk about, but hey, if we're gonna make history with a first women's Intercontinental title champion, we might as well just add some even bigger stakes to it and get the other loser down to NXT. But on the NXT side, Obafemi incredibly won the Iron Survivor Challenge at Deadline, so he is set to face Trick Williams on New Year's Evil. And those two big hosses are really going to go at it in that match, and whoever wins certainly deserves to be the NXT champion. But I think whoever loses that really also deserves a shot at the main roster. Why not? I think they can already handle their own with the best on Monday Night Raw, so to see either of them on Netflix would really be a treat. Now on the women's side, Julia did win the Women's Iron Survivor match, and yeah, she is quite a veteran already, and even though she's only had 8 matches in NXT, she is 7-1 in all of those. And yeah, several of those were tag wins with Stephanie Vaquer, but you know, I think we could see their potential upcoming feud happen on the main roster before too long. So if she loses to Roxanne Perez, I think Julia will be just fine on Monday Night Raw. But speaking of Roxanne, what else can she do in NXT? Yeah, she is still so young, but she's still already a 2-time NXT Women's Champion and a 1-time Women's Tag Team Champion when that was a thing. And she has had 8 successful title defenses since Stand and Deliver and has not lost a singles match since February. So I think maybe she's already outgrown NXT and she can head on over to Netflix should she lose her title. Okay, at number 2, we have our 3-way transfer portal trade, as we will have Lash legend and Jakara Jackson permanently now head to SmackDown. Then Naomi and Blair Davenport are going to Monday Night Raw, and Natalya and Kiana James are going to NXT. So first for Lash and Jakara, the best we can say is they held their own in their first go-round on the main roster. Yeah, they didn't win either of their tag team title matches, but they look like they're main roster ready. So if we give them a shot full time, maybe they can find a way to overcome the odds and win that tag team championship. And on top of it, well, SmackDown is just bereft of tag team talent now, aren't they? Let's certainly hope that Jade Cargill can come back soon so that Jade and Bianca can continue their tag team dominance together forever. But beyond that, well, we already talked about Chelsea and Piper. That's clearly not going well. And unfortunately, of course, Indy Hartwell is no more, so there is no Candice and Indy to challenge anyone. So we pretty much don't have a tag team division, so let's get one back with Lash and Jakara. So for the two going to SmackDown, Naomi has a pretty good record at 7-6-2 in one-on-one matches, but she's sadly 0-2-1 in her title shots for the year. So maybe just getting rid of the drama surrounding Jade and Bianca right now and who did it, that might be the best for her, and she can have a fresh start on Monday Night Raw. Now for Blair Davenport, well, she did actually defeat Naomi in a one-on-one match, which I know because I was there that night in Orlando, Florida, but she hasn't really gotten any other chances as she is just 1-1 in one-on-one matches. So I don't know why that is, but clearly Nick Aldis has it out for her. So she definitely needs a fresh start on Monday Night Raw. And quite frankly, I like the team up with the Unholy Union that we saw in the middle of the year. So maybe it could stand to benefit for all three of them to work together going forward. And lastly, for NXT, Natalya going there would be a big score for them, as she has gone there several times in the past and is clearly great at being a mentor for the younger wrestlers. Now, of course, on Raw, she is just 1-6 in singles matches, so she's obviously just not having a lot of success as it is, so we might as well maybe give her another shot at winning the NXT Women's Championship instead, ahead of all of those other young pups. And for Kiana, well, she's only had 2 singles matches on Monday Night Raw since being drafted, and of course that could solely be due to getting injured, but regardless, it's been a long-term injury and no signs of her coming back anytime soon. So we might as well just get her ramped back up in NXT and give her another shot at a good run there before giving her a second and maybe first true chance on the main roster. So that takes us to our number 1 transfer portal trade, with Drew McIntyre and Pete Dunne going to SmackDown for Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso. And we saw with McIntyre just returning 2 weeks ago that he just has too many issues with too many people on Monday Night Raw, and it seems to make him go crazy, and it keeps costing him titles, and he's already started going crazy with his rivalry renewed with Sami Zayn. So despite all this, he is still a very impressive 9-5 in one-on-one matches, and is the only person to defeat Cody Rhodes one-on-one in 2024. So maybe he is the perfect person to do it again and actually take the title from Cody Rhodes. And for Pete Dunne, he is just not finding a lot of success on Monday Night Raw after being quite successful on SmackDown. Unfortunately, he got moved over in the draft, and together with an injury to Tyler Bate, things have just not gone according to plan. And then there's Roman Reigns. Now, I may be the #1 person who thinks that he is the worst of all in WWE, but don't think for a second that I'm not looking out for his best interest, because if he stays on SmackDown, well, surely he will continue to get his butt whipped by Solo and the rest of the new bloodline over and over again. So I am just certainly being magnanimous and keeping him free from harm. So what I'm doing is just simply looking out for his best interest to keep his health and safety at top of mind. And yeah, of course, if he ever wants to try to get another title shot, we already know that he is not as good as Cody Rhodes, so he might as well look to try to win a different championship. And then, of course, there's Jimmy Uso, and simply wherever Roman goes, Jimmy's got to go. And I guess the same thing goes for wherever Naomi goes, Jimmy's got to go. And also, of course, returning him together with his brother, Jey Uso, is certainly a good way to go now that they seem to have mended fences. But, of course, there is a caveat here. Even with this move, and knowing that it's happening, I cannot guarantee that Solo will not force Nick Aldis's hand to make him get traded over to Monday Night Raw as well. So come on guys, get your questions into me on X so that we can have a new person finally asking me a question for next week's OK Question of the Week. And also, if you missed my recap and grades for all of the segments for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, be sure to go right on over here to check those out, because if you don't, that would be not okay.